So today I wanted to share a short story that is based off of Mark 14th. And before I begin, I just want to say that this is dedicated to all of those who have carried shame before or who still carry shame. It's hard being able to carry so much baggage with you. It's hard trying to hide it from the public eye. But just know that there is a Jesus. There is a God who sees you. He sees right past your shame. And He loves you. He really does. I know we may have heard this more than once or twice, but there is a God who loves you beyond your problems, beyond your baggage and your past. And He just wants to encounter you and be able to love you and let yourself be loved. So this is dedicated to you all, to remind you who Jesus is. The title of this is That Luck. I decided to follow the men that arrested Jesus, and from a distance I knew they would take Him before the council, where many people were awaiting an opportunity to condemn Him to the worst possible punishment. They all knew fully well that they had no real evidence against Him. He was an innocent man that was going to be charged with false claims. I went right into the high priest's courtyard and I sat with the guards, warming myself by the fire because I could not help but feel like as the time passed, the colder the night became. I saw how the highest priest and the rest of the council were scrambling to find a way to put Jesus to death. But just like I had suspected, they couldn't find a way. I laughed. I just couldn't help but laugh at how ridiculous this whole situation was. Do they really not know who they are dealing with? This man made miracles countless of times. I'm sure he will soon be back with the rest of the disciples. He wasn't being serious during our Last Supper, was he? As my mind lingered on those thoughts, I began to shiver with a drop in temperature. I felt an ominous presence overcome the place, and as if the temperature dropped, I felt the hatred of the people grow and the false witnesses began to pile up. They kept contradicting each other and their stories were not making any sense. At one point, people were just spewing nonsense. The high priest finally got up and asked Jesus if He was going to answer to any of the charges. I thought this was going to be it. The moment Jesus would speak and His knowledge would surpass all allegations and set Him free. But He did not speak. He kept silent. They asked Him if He was the Messiah, and He finally replied, "I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand and coming onto the clouds of heaven." I smiled. I was glad He was finally speaking for Himself. But my smile soon faded when I saw that the reply only angered the high priest even more, and he tore his clothes. "Why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard His blasphemy. What is the verdict?" In unison, they all claimed, "Guilty." They yelled, "He deserves to die." Guilty, 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 guilty. The perfect, purest, and kindest man I have ever encountered, the Son of God, the Messiah, He was found guilty. What? How? How can this be happening? I stood there as I saw Jesus being slapped and aggressively taken a hold of. I was unaware that someone took notice of me. She was studying me closely and said, You're one of them. You are one of the followers of Jesus of Nazareth." The servant girl began to look at me disgustingly, and I felt like if I did not respond soon, then I would suffer the same consequence of Jesus. I began to feel my heart beat faster as I tried to find an exit. I don't know what you're talking about. I tried to quietly get past people to not get any attention, but the servant girl tried to get the attention of others as she thrust an accusing finger towards me. She says, "This man is definitely one of them." I already said that I don't know what you're talking about. Just as I was about to leave, several men blocked my path, and angrily they say, "This man is definitely one of them. You must be one of them because you are Galilean." I had to do something to get everyone's attention off of me. "A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know this man you're talking about." And immediately I heard a rooster crow in the background. At that moment, the Lord turned to me and I remembered his words. "Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny me 3 times. You will deny that you even know me." I began to shake. I could no longer be there before him. The shame overcame me and drove me to run away. The shame drove me to run away from that look. The look the Lord gave me should have been filled with angering rage. Looking towards me, there should have been disappointment and disgrace. That look should have been filled with disgust. Everyone else in that room looked down upon me with disgust for being associated with you. And the one who should have looked down upon me the most should have been you. You told me I would deny you. You told me, and I shook my head, vowing I would be with you even through death. You knew I would break that promise. Yet you did not curse me like you should have. Instead, that look, I could not stand to be seen the way you did because it was so undeserving to receive that look. When you heard the rooster crow, you immediately turned to look at me with eyes filled with compassion and love. You were the one being sent to his death sentence, and yet you look at me, the dirty sinner, as someone who should receive a look of mercy and compassion. I could no longer stand being before your presence because I was so full of shame of what I had just done. You not only received an undeserving death sentence, but you also received rejection from one of your most faithful disciples. I could no longer bear the thought anymore, and I broke down and wept as they took you to your death. This story is a reminder for all of you who have sinned, and that's all of us. We're all sinners. We're all broken. We all have a past that we are ashamed of. And maybe you haven't outright rejected Jesus the same way, but our actions have shown it. And time again, God has shown us so much love and compassion through it all. So my invitation for you today is to accept him, open up to him, receive that mercy, receive his grace. Yes, it's undeserving, but really that's the definition of grace. It's a gift from God, and we have nothing, we do nothing, we can never be anything, we will never be enough to deserve the love of God. So just accept it today, receive it, and I hope that this story can resonate with you today and be a blessing for you.